Bootsy Greenwood here, and I'm here to talk to you today about balanced forces. As I'm breaking down this transurfing book chapter by chapter, this may sound like the most unappeasing chapter, but it's actually probably the most valuable. Balanced forces doesn't sound a whole lot like this new age woo-woo paradise we were promised in chapter 1, Mr. Zeland. But for all you out there, don't worry, it's not like what it sounds. The idea is more about getting to the place where you're trying to go with the least amount of resistance, as opposed to the self-help movement, which really, pushes willpower to a fault. There's nothing wrong with having willpower. There's nothing wrong with the self-help movement. My point is that perhaps sometimes more energy than is necessary goes into any given activity. And that's what Vadim talks about in this chapter. So we're going to break it down with some visuals over at the whiteboard. So why don't we hop on over there? Here we are at the whiteboard, balanced forces. A bit of an intimidating topic, I will admit. But I think it's important to note that the goal of transurfing is to be your most authentic self. And if we're doing that, then we don't have to worry so much about balanced forces. If you are who you are and you're doing what you're doing, then very likely you're going to be just fine. There's not going to be a lot of turbulence along that path. It's going to happen some, but it shouldn't be so intimidating. The most important thing is to stay positive. Take care, he says, without worrying. Okay? Well, what does that mean? That seems like that seems like a... And it kind of is, but that's the point. The point is that, again, it's like facing pendulums. We see them, we acknowledge them, but we're not shook, It's not like we're going to freak out or get excited. We're just like, okay, there that is, okay? So one of the interesting things that I think is very telling about this is balance is about equilibrium. And we want to find our equilibrium like nature finds its equilibrium. In nature, it rains, the sun comes out, on and on and on. Sometimes it seems negative. Sometimes it seems positive. Oh my God, it's a beautiful day. That's great. It's not pretty today. It's rainy. That's bad. Well, that's very weird thinking because both of those things have to go together and balance each other out in order to make that beautiful day. It has to rain. And in order for the beautiful day, or in order for the vice versa, right? One of the interesting things that I took from this was that as much as we desire something, that's also a lot of times, especially if it's a goal of ours or something that we are trying to attain, that's how much we also doubt it, okay? So think about it like, I want this thing so much and I put so much excitement into it. Why do I want it so much? Shouldn't I just be able to just walk out and get it? And if it's a loaf of bread and I want a loaf of bread, I will just walk to the store and buy a loaf of bread. Transaction complete. I don't even need a receipt for it. We're all set. But what happens is we start to look at these desires with a lot of importance. And I would say that a lot of the time, these specific desires that get blown up with the importance are often not even our desires, but society's wishes that we think we want. They're enticing things that we think we want to chase and pursue because we're not sure. We want our goal and we haven't figured out what that is yet, but we think we do. So we're going to pursue this one thing that we have a lot of desire about. And then we're going to put a lot of importance there because it's going to matter a lot to us because we want to have it and we want to control things and we want to put all this energy into it. But on the surface, you desire it, but underneath, there's plenty of doubt. It's like, I think this would be amazing. The reason why you don't have it is because somehow you don't believe, either through guilt or who knows what, that you deserve it, okay? Let's just say you don't think you deserve it. That's pretty simple. Or maybe, it seems really hard or something. But there's as much doubt as there is desire until we decrease importance. All right. What happens with importance? Importance creates almost like a wind of excess potential, right? Let's say we're trying to sail our boat this way, but we have this huge idea of how important it is to do X, Y, or Z. And so it's like creating this wind against us, and so we can't quite get past it. when we try to manipulate people, when we try and force things to happen in cunning and psychological ways, a lot of times we create a lot of excess potential as well. That's exactly what happens. And so it becomes even harder to reach our goal. The more excess potential that we drum up, the more we try to get A to happen to B. See, the thing is, we're going to get to our goal. We just don't know how. We're here and we're going to get here. And we think that there's this like linear progression that gets us from here to here, but it's not. That's not how it works. And what a lot of people do and why they're unsuccessful or why they have to go the super heavy duty new age route is because they're fighting to get from here to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. When in reality, the path maybe wiggles more. You know, it looks more like this. It's like woo, 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 woo. And so what we want to do is we want to eliminate doubt. And there are ways that we can do that. First of all, think about it like this. Bill Murray gets a script in the mail. Is that a big deal? No, because he's Bill Murray. So, you know, there was a long time of development. Maybe that was a big deal at one point, but eventually it wasn't a big deal anymore. And so it's easy for him to get a script in the mail. That's just how that whole thing operates. So for us, one thing that we can do is we can visualize. We can also take steps toward our goal, and then we're expanding our comfort zone a little bit at a time and getting closer and closer to our goal. A little bit at a time, Kaizen style. And that's great. But one thing that Vadim talks about in this chapter is specifically learning how to emit positivity even during a negative situation. Because here's a lot of times what happens. We get excited when something good happens and we get bummed out when something bad happens. But without the rain, there couldn't be a beautiful day, right? It takes both. So we need to learn how to take these more negative situations or situations that we perceive to be negative, and we need to be able to think of them positively. Because again, our goal is here. Let's say we're here. It looks like this. Not like this linear progression, okay? It's undeterminable because of all the variables that are happening between X and Y. Tons of variables there, okay? So it's not going to look, there's going to be times when we're like, oh, and times we're like, oh my God, that's amazing. But we have to learn equilibrium. We have to learn our own balance through all of those different types of situations. We have to learn how to not place too much importance on our goals so that it's easy to reach them. Hey, I want X. Okay, I go get X, you know? It's just really that simple. But a lot of times in our minds, we overcomplicate things. And that is why pendulums are trying to get our mental thought energy, positive or negative. All right, let's see here. All right, so emitting positivity during negative situations, covered that. Another one is the vaudeville lifeline. Another way to deal with that is the vaudeville lifeline. Make a joke out of it, whatever it is. It can be funny. And at that point, it all just dissipates. That's generally speaking how I like to do it. When I can, and I can't always, but as often as I can, that's what I try to do. I have a decent sense of humor. So last point here on balanced forces. Unconditional love. Unconditional love, he says, is the flower in the field that you don't clip and bring inside and put in a water jar. You allow it to be there. You focus on it, you see it, you let it be exactly as it is in that flower field, and you're not going to mess with it. That's unconditional love. Versus dependency. And now dependency is another way that balanced forces and karma can bite you in the ass through judgment. So a dependent love is negative. That's always like, you need to do this or do that or else you don't love me. Well, that creates a ton of excess potential. And it works against you in the relationship because it pushes your partner away from you, okay? So unconditional love is completely independent of itself. It doesn't need anything or anybody else to be at homeostasis, like complete and total balance. That's where it's at. And dependency is how, when we judge other people, how that stuff comes back and bites us as karma or what we think of as karma, how we perceive karma to be. Like, that's how that works. It's like, it's not calling a spade. Like, that person is, a pretty sketchy character, It's saying I'm better than that person because they're a sketchy character and I'm not. Well, at that point, there's a differential. There's a difference. There's a judgment. And now there is an imbalance of perception, and that energy can radiate and come back at you. Just the same as energy that you don't let go of can affect you deeply too. So forgiveness, for instance, absolutely invaluable. When you forgive someone, here's what happens. If somebody does something negative to you and it's mean and it hurts, and you hold on to that, then you have still got the charge. So you've got to learn to let go of that. Practice this unconditional love and not this dependency. Like, I would be okay, I would be whole if this thing hadn't happened to me. Or versus, I'm whole, this thing happened to me, it sucked, whatever, I forgive, it's gone. So at that point, that charge, that energy, it leaves you and it goes back to its original source. So it goes all the way around and it balances everything out. So balance is a good thing. We just need to know how to navigate it, right? So too much desire, equals importance, equals excess potential, equals, oh, this is even 10 times harder than it should be because I made it that way for myself. So keep it in mind, negativity will stifle progress. Our goal is to take care without worrying. Take care. Be impeccable. When you rent yourself out, do everything you got to do. If you're at a job you don't like, that's okay. Rent yourself out. Be impeccable with your word. Do everything exactly as asked with a smile on your face. Rent yourself out. Focus on your heart and be your most authentic self. And as you continue to do that, and as you continue to define your goal, eliminating that desire, lessening it by visualization in the moment. We'll talk a lot more about that. And remember that we don't go in a linear progression. We don't go from A to B to C to D to E. It's not how it works. It's wiggly, it's woggly. So we need to learn how to be positive no matter what happens. It's just part of the journey. If something bounces out, that's fine. If you go down a rabbit trail, if you lose it for a couple of months, if you backslide, whatever happens, it really is part of the entire whole, and it's okay. So thank you so much for checking out this chapter. Pretty difficult to explain, but I hope you guys got something out of it. Check me out, gumroad.com/Bootsy Greenwood, patreon.com/Bootsy Greenwood, and of course I'm here on YouTube. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks so much for your comments and your positive energy, and I hope to see y'all next time. Thanks again.